Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. It was inspired by a swap I received from Naney Gloriod. I hope I've said your name correctly, Naney. When I was at the leadership convention recently in Orlando. I just thought this was such a beautiful card and I thought, what can I make of it? So this is what I came up with. It's more than I had intended. I had thought that I would just do the 3 branches, but then I added a bit more on. I don't know whether I've now overdone it or not, so we'll see. To start off with, the card pieces, because there's a lot involved in this, by the way, I've done quite a lot of the work beforehand, but the card pieces that you're going to need, I've just dropped some, oh that doesn't matter, dropped something on the floor, but it's not important, pick it up later. So the card pieces you're going to need, the card base I've used Marina Mist, and this measures 5.5 by 8.25. Now I normally do 5 3/4 down here, but because of the size of the die for the honeycomb here, the hive, it fits on better if the card is a bit shorter. I think the size has probably been more designed for the American market, but it's no problem. Taking off 1/4 inch really doesn't make much difference at all. Nobody would notice that unless it's been pointed out to them. So the other pieces you'll need are 2 pieces of crumb cake. One piece measures 5.5 inches by 4 inches, and the other one measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And you'll also need a piece of wax paper. I find this is absolutely ideal when I'm using dies like this. And some scraps of Marina Mist, Whisper White and Garden Green. So let's put those over there for the time being. I'm going to put that over because that bit's already been done. So the first bit I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the background behind the hive. And for that I've used the Hardwood stamp, which is this one here. I've done it in the same colour ink as the paper. As you can see, it still comes up quite dark enough. You can see it without it being too dark. So just ink up the stamp. And when you put your piece of paper on top of this one, your piece of cardstock, it is best to try and get it straight. I've done one which was a little bit on the wonky side, but it didn't make too much difference, but it would if it was very wonky. So I just line it up like that, let it go down. That looks quite good. And then I just put a piece of scrap paper over and run it down. Okay, I'll use that a bit later. And I use my paper piercer to lift that up. There we go, beautiful. It will lighten up to a certain extent. So move those 2 out of the way. The next part I'm going to do is to I'm not actually doing it, I've already done it, but die cut out the frame. And what I've used is the Hexagon Hive Thinlit die. This just arrived yesterday, and I looked on the back here to see what kind of size paper that I need, and I can see that there's an actual mistake there. So I need to get in touch with Stampin' Up to let them know there's a bit of an error there. Right, okay, so, oh sorry, this is what I'm doing next, isn't it? I've already done my die cutting. I haven't popped all my bits out, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is if you use wax paper. This is the first one I did and I didn't, and these bits didn't cut properly, and I've bent quite a lot of my cardstock where I've tried to get that away from the actual die. So it is so much easier to do it like this. Just go like that. That bit's off nice and easy. You just pop these out, and you will see that this will come out very nice and easily too. There we go. Couldn't be any easier, could it? I'll tidy that up later on. Don't want to waste time. I'm also saving these complete hexagons because I'm sure I could use those for something else. So on top of here there's going to be a waxed frame. Again, I'm not getting rid of that yet. Might be able to do something with it. And then I'm just going to pop out the rest of these little bits here. Actually, look, these haven't cut either. It's got to be my my plates. You see how warped they are? Can you see that? It really is pretty warped. So it's obviously time that I got myself some new ones. But again, no problem. Nothing we can't deal with. So all I'm going to do is get my paper snips, pop it round to the back, and then cut through that. In fact, no, I'm not going to force that. There we go. Okay. So first of all I'm going to adhere my wood background to my card base. I'll use Snail for this. Oops. I'm just going to centre it so that I've got approximately the same sort of border all the way around. In fact, it looks as if I could have cut this a bit shorter. Never mind, I'm not going to stop and do that now. That must have been a very generous 5.5. So now this will fit on top perfectly. Okay. It's a little bit hairy there. Okay, so what I'm going to do to adhere this, I've decided I'm going to put it on the opposite way round. So I've got those bits at the bottom, which is that way. So I'm going to tip it this way this time. And I'm only going to put some snail on the corners and a little bit down the side. The thing is, I want to be able to slide my branches in underneath this trellis. Just put little bits on it. If you find that by doing it like this you get little bits of snail coming through onto your card, it doesn't take too much to remove it by the rubber eraser. And that's the way round I wanted it, isn't it? That's a bit hairy. Oops, I've left my card out of view. There we go. As I say, this will fit absolutely perfectly, she says. Yes. Yes. Oops, come off a bit there, but that's okay. So the next piece I did was I stamped the bird, and that came from the polka dot pieces. I haven't used the blue that came out when I used my Marina Mist ink, and then I used my bird builder punch to punch that out. What have I done with that? I think I put it out here. There we go. Okay, so that punched those out. And then I did the happy birthday. Now what I did with this, here's my Whisper White pieces. Right, okay. So the stamp that I used was from Itty Bitty Banners, this one here. And with Marina Mist ink, just stamp that out. As you can see on my card where I've stamped that, I've also managed to use the die that comes with that set, which is this one here, and that's bitty banners. But obviously if I cut them both out with the die, they'd be the same size. So what I did was, with the smaller one, I cut it out by cutting on the inner, or at least just outside the inner blue line there. And I tried to leave the smallest fraction there possible. Okay, so I finished doing all of that. It is one of the things I did earlier. So I then die cut the back part using Marina Mist, mounted to them with SNAIL. For my leaves, again, I used the Bird Builder punch, and if you use a thin piece of paper to cut in there, you don't waste too much. If you use a big thick bit, you're going to keep losing the bird and the wing, but a thin strip is a lot better, far less wastage on there. Now what I've done with my leaves, if I can find which one I've left, that one, that should have, yeah, I don't know if you can see, but I have actually drawn like leaf veins on there. Can you see that? Yes, you can. Okay. And the way I did that was I used my garden green marker pen, and I used the thin end, and all I did was I drew a line down the middle of the leaf, like that, and then I just did little lines coming out sideways. And then I did one line down the centre of the stem or branch. Like that. Okay, I mean, none of them are perfect. Quite a lot of these I will be cutting some of the stalks off. Yes, you can see that, can't you? Let's put that actually on my palm. There we go. Yep, that's it. You can see that. Good, good. Okay, then the next bits I need are the flowers. I'll pop that away before that dries up. And for these, I used the, now this I don't really know the name of, this little punch here. I will make sure I've got the name up on the screen. And I punched out 7 of these, like that. And then I just used the soft end of my paper piercer, for goodness sake, don't use the pointed end, and I just go like that, and then it just pops up nicely for me. It keeps the amount of creases down to an absolute minimum. And then just to put a, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, this is my 7th one, and then just to pop a pearl in the middle. Again, paper piercer. What would look quite nice here, actually, thinking about it now, is to have darker blue lines. Can you see what? Right, if you just drew the lines on there, see what I mean? That would look quite nice. Never mind, I'm not going to stop and do that now. Right, so now it's just a question of putting all this together. And what I did was, I lined up where I wanted my bird first, and then I wanted him on a branch, so it was a question of deciding where and how. And each time I did it, I slid the branch underneath, apart from the one he's sitting on. Yep, they've all gone underneath. So where do I want this to go? I'm going to keep this down here. In fact, let me show you what I had planned when I was going to do the 3, and to get this to go underneath, just very gently lift that up. Okay, so there'd be one there. That's it, that's gone under. And then plan to put, whoops, not upside down, put that on top. And that is what my original plan was going to be. But then I started thinking about flowers. I'll put side by side, then you can see which you think is best, because I'd like to have some feedback. So if I could put some 3 flowers on with this one. Would that look better? I think with this one out of the way, that looks bare. That's about all I'm going to do today, because I'm going to think about whether I want to have 3 or 7. Knowing me, chances are I will go for the 7. But to let you know how I did finish this off, the birthday banner I mounted on dimensionals, and I put tiny little pearls. There's little blue dots there where that gets printed out, and I put little pearls on them. And I also put a little pearl for his eye. You may notice that my ink wasn't quite as definite on my first card. My ink pad was quite dry, so before I started the second one I re-inked. But I quite like it with that, but I don't know whether it's enough. Watch my blog, and once I've decided I'll post the pictures on there. Anyway, in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed watching my video. If you have any questions, please contact me, because I will be happy to help you. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I normally say that by clicking the button in the top right hand corner of your screen, but I understand depending on what you're watching the video on, sometimes there's a red button underneath the video. But wherever, if you would subscribe, I would be really, really grateful, thank you. And if you'd like to purchase any of the Stampin' Up products I featured here, please visit my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop. The link is below. And you can purchase anything there. I would appreciate your business. And many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.